God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know His word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Giving the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Good day, and thank you for joining us today with Young People Nation. And today we welcome Mr. Chris Cockrum, licensed professional counselor, nationally certified counselor, certified employee assistant professional. Mr. Cockrum has worked in the health field for over 40 years. He is a clinical director with Life Management Group in Augusta, Georgia, and he's working on his doctorate in counseling, education, and supervision. Thank you for coming, Mr. Cockrum.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Today's section, let's go a little bit farther into mental health. We're going to start with addictions.
Okay.
Some people seem to have a more difficult time than others when it comes to addictions. In your field, have you ever seen many extremities in that field?
Yes. Addiction is a very complex disease, disorder, depending upon who you talk to, could be a spiritual matter, but in the end, it usually takes a person to the extremes of their existence. They wind up doing just about anything and everything in pursuit of the object of their obsession.
I noticed in these exceptions and all in my lifetime that when a person has an addiction, nothing else matters. It seems like that addiction just takes over the common sense to the point where it is the only thing that in their life. And in that, do you think, is there any realm of rationalization in their thinking?
Not while they're using or practicing whatever their addiction is. So let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
It's important to understand addiction is an obsessive compulsive condition. Obsessive is it's in my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. From a non-therapeutic perspective, and folks remember high school days,
right? And
they found that first girlfriend. They quit going to class because they were too busy wanting to walk her to class, or all they could do was think about her. The compulsivity is they continue to engage in this addictive behavior, okay, in the face of, as one psychiatrist stated, in the face of catastrophic consequences. Now, one person may go to work and their boss says, well, hey, Joe, you kind of smell like alcohol. You kind of need to get a grip. And that's enough for Joe. He stops. Someone else, they may have to lose everything. Home, family, children, siblings, even wind up in prison, mental institutions, and they're still not finished. So when you talk about the consequences, there's another level to explore addiction where we don't have time, is the chemical issues going on in the brain. So the brain has been hijacked also, okay, which feeds into a lot of that, what people say is denial, or you can't figure out why is this person continuing to do. And between the chemicals they're ingesting and the dopamine and all the things that go into the neurotransmitters, folks continue to pursue that first high.
Right.
They never get it. Okay, and in the treatment world, if you talk to clients in recovery, they talk about it's a disease of moreism, where you want more and more and more and more. addiction, I ask folks, because it's not for me to say they're an addict, because the change process begins with that person. So I ask them, are they having intimate problems as a result of whatever their obsessive item is or object is? Are they having, or have they changed their associates? Do they hang out with a new crowd? Do they have legal problems, health problems, financial problems, school or work or occupational problems? The more yeses, then one might say, maybe I've got a problem with this issue.
Right.
Other folks in society, they may drink, but they still have their job.
Right.
They're not going down the deep end, so to speak.
I know when I first came in, my first second duty station there in Fort Bragg, it was like that. It was norm. They would say nobody be drinking, go and be sensible. But they gave you a beer machine in the barracks. You were 17, 18 year old, and nobody there to stop you. You got 4 quarters. You go there and get a can of beer out of the machine, and then they chastise you for drinking. And then my first sergeant used to come in with a big cup drinking vodka. So everybody thought it was water, and that was the norm. And a working alcoholic, you might say, and a leader of soldiers, and everybody drunk. We drunk in the morning, we drunk at noon, we drunk it in the evening, and it was a social. Everybody was doing it.
Well, it starts like that a lot of times. I have yet to ever meet someone who said when they started drinking or drugging that their goal was to become addicted or become an alcoholic. Okay, but as they continue to engage in that behavior, okay, and they began to use that behavior as a way to deal with life on life's terms.
Right.
Okay, a very simplistic, I guess the definition I give to clients to try and help them understand is what's going on with addiction is there's something out there on the landscape of your life, okay? And along the way, you discovered that X, a beer,
right,
a woman, shopping, scratch-offs, anything you want to name, okay? You discovered that when I'm feeling a certain way, if I engage in this kind of behavior or do this thing, I start to feel better. I get relief, okay? So now we've got this pairing going on. So that tomorrow, when they start to feel that way, okay, there they go again. The only problem is it takes more and more and more of whatever they're obsessing about, whatever that obsessive object is. And there are things you kind of notice. Folks who are addicted don't get too far away from the object of their obsession.
right.
If they're smokers, they may go somewhere, but they'll know where they can buy more cigarettes.
Wow.
Okay, these are the subtleties, but again, what they're doing is ensuring that now they're able to access this magical relief, which really doesn't work. Okay, which really doesn't work. But again, they temporarily believe that, when you engage in the ingestion of mind-altering, mood-altering drugs, then you're not seeing reality.
So you say in our society today, there are certain items such as cigarettes, which has the nicotine, which is habit forming. It's acceptable habits. Our government funding against cigarettes has advanced in the years, but the more it has, the acceptable of smoking and vaping, it seems to be acceptable in our society today.
But that's what feeds that. What you talked about earlier, in reference to, and nothing against anyone who, if you choose to vape, smoke, drink, whatever you choose to do, this is not what, of course, this is about. But however, what happens sometimes if that becomes a greater comfort for that person than life itself.
Well, they continue to do it, on a scale of pleasurable activities.
Okay.
Okay. For example, eating a good from say 1 to 10.
Right.
Okay. Eating a good meal might be a 2 or 3 where you feel good. Okay. Having sexual relationships might be a 4 or 5. Okay. When you start getting into ingesting drugs, okay, for example, stimulants, okay, that's 1,000.
Okay.
Okay. Never stop.
Right.
Okay. And it's kind of easy to recognize what's going on because calcium is one of the ways the body cleanses itself. One of the biggest sources of calcium in the human body are the teeth. So, of course, people are losing their teeth or teeth are rotting and that kind of thing, as well as internal organs, liver, heart, you name it. There's some things they know for sure that will probably happen if you continue to engage in that behavior. So that's the disease concept where you really understand what causes it. You understand the course of it. You understand what you can do to mitigate it. And then you also understand if you do not mitigate it, then what it looks like when it runs its full course.
So what you're actually saying is if a person say that their liver go bad because of the drinking, and it's come to the part where even if they get a transplant, to reach that utopia, that high, they will actually start drinking again with the new
Maybe. So I mean, there's definitely a process. They don't do transplants like you go to the store and buy a part for a car.
Right.
There's a definite process to, is this a good candidate for a transplant? And that's one of the considerations. This person, we donate a good liver or whatever to someone just so they can go back out and continue to do what they're doing. So you got a person over here who needs it, has a family, really trying to live. It gets, you get into moral issues and ethical issues and spiritual issues.
Right.
And it's really not a difficult decision to make.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go.
In your years, because 40 years is a long time to see a lot, and I know you've seen from 1 to 1 million probably in your 40
Actually,
years.
it goes back to like 1972, late 60s. My brother, he was 3.5 years older than me, so when you go all the way back to Woodstock and the hippie era and LSD and psychedelics and all those things, I have been exposed and seen it ever since then.
Okay. So what are some of the destructive things that you have seen when it comes to addictions?
Well, we're in the realm of yets. Okay, so most folks who become addicted, they don't start out addicted. They kind of gradually work to that point in that they become dependent on whatever it is the object of the obsession. Okay, and then they have to have it, whether they're saying psychologically or with some drugs where morphine, opiates, some of those, barbiturates, alcohol require medical supervision to detox because folks can have seizures and heart attacks, those kind of things. They will do whatever they need to do to get the drug. So a yet might be, I would never steal money from my family. Okay, but here I am in the midst of withdrawal, and a family member is over at the house, and they've left their purse in the living room, and everybody's gathered in the kitchen. So I might not take everything, but I'll take enough to help me feel good. And again, that kind of behavior continues. Next time, okay, I'll take all of it. Okay, or one begins to prostitute themselves. One becomes willing to do things that they know are not legal or ethical or spiritually correct, okay, or contrary to what they've been taught. But the desire and that withdrawal, okay, whether it be psychological or physiological, is saying you need to get whatever it is. If it's cocaine, whatever it is, if it's to go shopping, okay, because it's the same thing.
Yes.
It's the belief that if I go shopping, once I get me a few bags of new stuff, I'll feel better. Okay, and you ask a shopaholic what's in all those bags, they don't know.
Well, what you're saying is that they'll go to any length beyond the consequences of their actions. I remember back one incident, we was in a church, and my wife called an individual going through her purse. As we were standing up singing hallelujah, and he was steadily going through my wife's purse trying to get some money. That could have been an incident right there. Not how you say, the consequences of being caught wasn't as great as what they needed. And by them doing that, that would cause even a woman to sell her own baby to get that.
And that happens. All these things you're naming have happened. Happening right here in Augusta, happening wherever people are.
Yes.
This thing called addiction is not new to humanity. I remember sharing with y'all, I saw a video of a psychiatrist in D.C. who was trying to understand this point. What is it that drives a person to go to any length? So she takes this person to a neighborhood where he's familiar, and they pan the area, and he says he has transacted some type of substance abuse, drug-related behavior in that whole block. And her question was, how is it that a person will continue to engage in a behavior in the face of catastrophic consequences? Okay, so when you start talking about yets, anything can be a yet when you're practicing. You know, you could have one drink too many, you're driving home, you have no intention of slamming. Just here, I think it might have been in Texas, or Southwest, I just read it. Some gentleman and his son were driving in a van and hit a school athletic team, the men and women's team.
Yes.
And killed 9 of them. And at first, he was trying, or it sounded like they were saying the 13-year-old son was driving. But after further investigation, it was really the 38-year-old father who had methamphetamine in his system. Okay? Now, hopefully you would think that would be enough for someone to say, wait a minute, I got to get some help or do what I need to do. Of course, there are consequences, but part of the problem is they don't get help. Okay, so they go to some type of correctional facility or they go to treatment or whatever. They don't change their thinking. So the same thinking that led them and got them a seat in the prison is the same thinking they use when they get out. Nothing's changed.
Right.
And the research is abundant where people who are released from correctional centers or treatment centers who go back to their home environment are much more likely to relapse because they're right back where?
Back in the frying pan.
Back in the frying pan.
So you're actually saying that the best thing for a family member to do is to turn that person in and get them some help.
Well,
Not that simple.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not that simple.
That sounds good. I can speak about my brother. He was 3.5 years older than I was. 2 tours in Vietnam and all that. Brilliant dude. Okay, but while he was in Vietnam, he left a part of him over there in that jungle, PTSD, all those kinds of issues. So started using different drugs. What got him killed, we think, in Sacramento, was that he had gotten in an argument with some drug dealer. and he was walking back to where he was living. Had full benefits, everything.
Right.
I went to law school, got 12 out of 14 scholarships, all this. But his wife died, his third wife.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. He married her first.
Right.
Then there was, I guess, as he said, complicated. Then he remarried her. Okay. Well, she was a nurse and she died. Okay. And, you know, he seemed to be holding on pretty good, but after about 9 months, you could see the chinks in the armor starting to unravel. Long story short, he got in an argument with those guys. It was a hit and run, and they killed him.
Wow.
They killed him. So back to this question about a family member. Okay. It's terrible to have to watch someone you love
Yes.
engage in suicidal behavior
Right.
or harmful behavior to myself, especially when you know there are alternatives. Sometimes they don't even know there's help. They believe, well, this is my plight in life.
Wow. Well, we're about to wrap up this first session of 4 sessions with addiction.
Okay.
And we just want to give out a couple of phone numbers for those listeners who are listening. There's a National Suicide Prevention line, 800-273-8255. That is 800-273-TALK. Also, there's a crisis text line. Text HOME to 741-741. Again, text HOME to 741-741. The crisis text line provides free 24/7 mental health support via text messaging. Mr. Cochran, this has been very insightful, and thank you for being so transparent in your experience with addictions. And again, we're going to be talking further with this in the next sessions
Okay.
about addictions. And is there any closing remarks?
Let's stay hopeful out there, and don't give up on your loved ones. Until next time, this has been Young People Nation.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what he gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going, keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by his love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.